All right, here we go again, Rick Beato. Well, hello everyone. It's Super Jesus Jackson, your favorite man-child, back at it again with yet another Rick Beato reaction, response, analysis video. His newest video, one of his newest videos, that is, The Real Reason Why Music is Getting Worse, has gotten over 1 million views. It got pretty viral. Other YouTubers have sort of done a response to it, and my small-ass YouTube channel wants to do the same because I watched this video and I appreciate Rick Beato. He actually did a little bit more production with this video, which I appreciate. And, you know, he tackles a subject that I think is universal to all of us music fans, right? We care about it. Is music truly getting worse? Are we in a bad spot, right? That sort of thing. And he presents some arguments, and I don't necessarily agree with him. But anyways, it's an interesting video nonetheless. Go check it out for yourself. Leave a comment, tell him I sent you over there. We're gonna react to the video. We might stop it here and there a bit, but maybe I just let it run and then I'll talk afterwards. But I'm curious to know your thoughts as well after the video ends. Make sure to leave a comment down there. And if you wanna see more stuff like this, more music analysis, just thoughts in general videos, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, of course, if you enjoy this content. And it lets me know that you like me, okay? Oh, and sorry about the dogs. The dogs, you know, they're gonna bark, you know. What are you gonna do?
Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. We're gonna try something new today. This video is on the history of the music business and technology in 2 acts. Act 1. Music is too easy to make. What do I mean by music is too easy to make? Let's just go back to the 1940s and 50s. Frank Sinatra used to get up in front of an orchestra and sing a vocal take, and they had one microphone. And they would get it balanced just right. Frank would say, okay, I'm ready to do it, and he'd sing it.
Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru.
Then you get into the 1960s or so, and then you have things where you have multi-track machines. You could go in if you had a mistake in a vocal part or any instrument, and you do a punch-in. Oh, I don't like that word. I sang it out of tune, or I want to change this lyric. You go in and you just punch in. Fix the line, punch out. Fast forward to 1998 with Cher, the Believe song. They invented this thing, auto-tune, that I've talked about this a million times on here. But auto-tune was a plug-in that would go into these DAWs, digital audio workstations. So you'd have something like Pro Tools or Logic or Ableton. What you do is you take the vocal, let's say the song's in C major. Any note in the key of C major, it would tune the note to. Well, T-Pain and people like that realized if you put it on a really hard tuning, it would make it sound like a keyboard. And that's what they did in the Believe song. Well, then the same thing starts happening with drum parts. Guys playing a drum part and you're like, you know what? This would be a great take of this first verse if this one hi-hat wasn't a little dragged. Well, let's move it back a little bit, or let's move it forward, whatever. And then you move that and you're like, well, the snare after it kind of sounds weird because we moved that forward. Now the snare sounds like it's dragged, so we do that. Then you're like, well, you know what? Let's just look at the grid lines, the bar lines, and we'll just move them to that. Then you start cutting out, moving them. Then they give you this tool called Beat Detective. Then you can actually quantize an entire part. So then it becomes like a drum machine. So it's not human-like. Here's an example of a quantized drum part. It's John Bonham's drum performance from Fool in the Rain that's a shuffle. Here's what it sounds like as a machine. Now here's the actual human performance of John Bonham. Notice the swing in it.
Yep. Got a little bit of a delay there.
Once you quantize the drum part, it's a drum machine. It's just like Superior Drums. So what started happening in the year 2000 or so is that everyone started quantizing their drums because the budgets to hire session guys like Josh Freese and Kenny Aronoff went away, and you'd have to use the crappy drummers. I mean, some bands would have good enough drummers to play, but you'd typically have these crappy drummers that you'd have to fix their parts, and once you fix their parts, you start moving the bass around, you start moving the guitars around, and then you pretty much have sterile, generic, quantized rock music that has no vibe at all. The other thing that people realize is that it's really difficult and time-consuming to record a drum set. You need a studio and a lot of gear. Look at all these mics. Now, you can put up 3 mics and get a drum sound. You can put up 2 mics and get a drum sound. But to get a professional drum sound, you tend to mic up the different instruments. I got 2 mics on the bass drum. I got a mic on this tom, mic on that tom, mic on the ride, 2 mics on the overheads, 2 mics on the snare here. I actually have 3 mics on the snare and a mic on the hi-hat. And I have a couple room mics. it's hard to record it well. Not only is it hard to play the drums well, but it's hard to record the drums well, and you have to have training. It's not easy to do. You have a great ear. You got to know how to tune them. You got to know what is a good snare sound from a bad sound. You got to know if the toms are ringing too much. You got to know if they're in the right pitches, all this kind of stuff. There's so many decisions to make. Now, some of you are out there thinking, what are you talking about, Rick? You don't need to have a good sounding room. You can have a crappy sounding room. You don't even need good mics because you're going to just replace everything with samples. Well, where do you think samples come from? They come from people that know how to record them. That one was for free. It's difficult to get a good guitar sound. You have to have a good sounding amp. You have to have good sounding speakers, good microphones that work well. Most people now just use amp modelers. They plug into their computer, they pull up their program, everything is done for them. They've already been pre-mic'd, pre-selected. They're all using the same algorithms. They can create great sounds. They're so easy to use. Doesn't take any skill at all. But it doesn't take any creativity either. Then, of course, you have the MIDI packs that you can buy if you can't play keyboards. So it'll just have pre-programmed chord progressions. Because for some reason, people can't just kind of space their fingers out and learn to play a few chords like that. Or maybe just
It's called efficiency, Rick.
What is this? What is this? In the early 2000s, labels stopped signing rock bands.
This is a really good video, though.
Because it was way too resource intensive. It was far easier to sign artists that could make their own music using a laptop and a microphone. Why is this a bad thing? Well, let's start with the creative dependency on technology limits the ability of people to innovate, I believe. Could be wrong about that. Maybe it helps them innovate. I don't think so, though. The homogenization of music. The over-reliance on similar tools, as I just brought up with the amp models, creates a lack of diversity. I think that leads to music becoming more formulaic and people just following trends of using certain types of sounds. This is why these trap beats have been in vogue for the last 20 years. People just, they know they work, so they just keep using them all the time. Quality versus quantity. This is a big, big thing. Okay, so the easier production makes the process go faster, which creates an oversaturation of music, making it harder to find really exceptional things, as Ted Gioia talks about in this clip.
This is Spotify's way of using AI. They have AI songs, they attribute them to people that don't exist, and this allows them to take royalties that would go to musicians and keep them for themselves.
On the AI front related to music is too easy to make, I made a video last week called I Told You This Was Going to Happen, and I played some songs off Udio, and I was saying how my kids could detect that they were AI songs, but other people could not. Well, it just came out. All three major labels are suing AI startups for copyright infringement. Universal Music Group, Sony Music, and Warner Music are suing Suno and Udio for copyright infringement because guess what? They're using all their music to train these AI models. Well, of course they are. How else are they going to train it? Now, companies like Universal are not doing it for the good of their music to protect their copyright owners. What's going on here is they just announced that they're partnering with a company called SoundLab to make AI models of their artists for themselves. They can use this SoundLab
Label's gonna be labeling
in Pro Tools or Logic, and you can sing your own voice and replace it with one of their artists like Drake or Taylor Swift or Billie Eilish, or whoever agrees to this. And I guarantee you all these labels are going to do that because they want to own the AI versions of these songs. Whether you create it or whether they create it, they're going to own it. And just to show you how easy it is to model someone's voice with AI, I'm speaking to you through a voice modeling program called 11 Labs that was trained on my voice over a 4-week period. So for those of you that keep writing to me every day, I get about 20 of these a day, and they always start, Rick, I wrote a song that I think could be a hit. I used AI to hear it because I know nothing about making music. That's literally from an email I got yesterday. This reminds me of the best AI critique I've seen. Creative AI tools can be seen as sophisticated plagiarism software, as they do not produce genuinely original content, but rather emulate and modify existing works by artists subtly enough to circumvent copyright laws. Well, what's funny about that is that was actually written by ChatGPT. Act 2.
All right. It's actually kind of cool that he separates these the video by acts. Let's first, actually, I'm going to quickly address this AI thing. So the fact that AI is plagiarizing is essentially stealing from real people, real artists, and then sort of creating an original piece of art from that. and how that's a bad thing, which is what Rick Beato is insinuating here. It's something that just kind of devaluates music, right? Devaluates the art form by having AI take part in this, plagiarism. How do I say this? Every musician in this entire world does that exact same thing. You know, what I'm doing right now, I am watching Rick Beato's video, and then I am reacting to it, recording myself, creating another video, using his content in a way to fuel my content. It sparks some thoughts, and then I make a video about it. Is that bad? Is that bad? Is it the most original thing in the world? No, it's not. But can I possibly, create something really cool and original and unique? Yeah, I think so, as many other YouTubers have done so. I have it right here. 300 by Frank Miller. It became a movie. Zack Snyder read this and was like, this is awesome. I want to create a movie that looks exactly like this, right? And it happened. And it was awesome. And it was incredible. And it was still unique. And this still exists, right? Is Zack Snyder AI? Is it bad? No, it's not. This idea that just because it's technology doing it doesn't mean that it's bad. And if you think it is bad, then your argument is not about what it's doing. Your argument is about the machine, the fact that it's a machine. You're arguing over humans are better than machine, period. That's your real argument. Because the thing that the machine is doing is something we all do. In fact, it's even worse sometimes. Look at Ed Sheeran and Marvin Gaye. Hell, Ed Sheeran straight up copied that shit. That lawsuit that happened with Let's Get It On, I believe, and then his song Perfect. Or Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams with Blurred Lines, right? And sort of plagiarizing another Marvin Gaye song. In many ways, that's worse than AI. You can make the argument that a human being, copying to that degree is worse because it's a human being. It's worse. The crime is worse rather than a machine doing it. I'm actually for, more freedom. I'm actually more towards, not prosecuting a lot of these plagiarism suits because it's just, music is such a giant language, but yet it's so small. You know what I mean? And we can all overlap. Everything overlaps. You know what I mean? Like, metaphorically, right now, this video is overlapping. I am putting Rick Beato's video on my video. You know what I mean? Like, literally. And art overlaps, right? And is that a bad thing? No, it's not. Nirvana wouldn't be Nirvana without the Beatles. Michael Jackson wouldn't be Michael Jackson without James Brown. Is that the same process that an AI would use to create original music, to create art? 100%. And if your argument is that it's bad, well, you're not arguing the process. You're arguing this philosophical idea of that a machine doing it is bad. That's what you're arguing. And that's another discussion, whether the machine should be valued, that's another discussion. But it's doing the exact same thing. Same thing with Midjourney and images, You think artists just randomly think of images that they want? You don't think they don't get inspiration from Picasso, from Van Gogh at all? You think they just create something original? You think Shakespeare, one of the greatest writers, one of the greatest poets, one of the greatest playwrights of all time. Romeo and Juliet was not unique, even when he wrote it. So it's just this idea that you're arguing a much more philosophical, much more sophisticated argument, just the idea of machine and man. That's what you're arguing. You're not arguing the method. And if you're arguing the method, you're contradicting yourself and you're a hypocrite. So, but whatever it is, I get the argument or whatever, but that's what I think on the AI thing. The other thing, he goes from saying, so he started with Frank Sinatra, for example. He goes into a studio and he records one take, or he records hundreds, dozens of takes to get that perfect take, and then eventually you get the technology to actually go into the recording, take out one piece, re-record that one piece that you didn't like, and put it back in, right? And then you fast forward to the 90s with auto-tune and then Beat Detective, and then all of a sudden we land now where we are here, where music is so involved technologically, everything's digital, no more analog, pitch correction, beat detection, all of that, right? And so what he's sort of insinuating here is that music has become easier to make, right? There's not as much hard work, you know, employed into it, you know, into creating it, into setting it up, into getting it perfect. And so that process has devalued the art form. It has devalued people's ability to be more creative, right? Because limitation often breeds innovation, right? I mean, just look at the Beatles, you know, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, right? I think that's the part of the video where I sort of can agree, you know, to a certain extent. I do think that, you know, when you look at certain artists and some music that comes out, some of it is just, it's so easily made. Someone can just go on SoundCloud and just make a viral hit, you know, that is not necessarily the greatest song in the world, but it goes really viral because it has some spark to it, you know? I don't know, think of Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. That song is incredibly simple, but at the same time, it does have some complexity to it. It's got a couple of samples in there. It's got 9 Inch Nails in there, you know, but Lil Nas X's delivery is not the most sophisticated. I think his chorus is incredibly catchy and cool. It's super simple, but it's really good. Is that bad? Is that a bad song? Is that song, it can never be as good as Hey Jude? I don't know. I think it's just a dumb argument to make, you know, because this idea of this hierarchical way of viewing the world where like, oh, well, the old ways were better and it means better music. It's just, I don't know. I just refuse to put myself in such a narrow mindset. It doesn't allow you to really appreciate the present. You know, like I said in my previous Rick Beato video, I hated a lot of modern music because I had this superiority complex of, oh, Michael Jackson was better, the Beatles was better, nothing tops that. This modern music sucks. And then I discovered Justin Timberlake. I discovered Charlie Puth. I discovered artists that were still putting so much love and so much passion into their music, even though it was technically easier to make, I guess. You know, and there are still artists today that are putting as much passion, as much love into their music. Now, are many of them super famous on the hot Billboard charts? I don't know. Probably not. You know, some of them are, you know, I mean, like Taylor Swift said, Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist, you know, so, but I think to a certain extent, yes, I think there's more people in the world. You know, in 1960, there was, you know, nowhere near as many people as there are now. Okay, technology is making our lives easier. Think of WALL-E, right? I think to a certain extent, you can say, once you get technology to a certain point where it's so high and so advanced, it allows us to not live as fully as we should, right? I think there's a certain argument to that, of course. That's why there's got to be some balance. You know what I mean? You can't just use auto-tune for your whole career, you know? Use some raw vocals in there, you know, mix it up. And that does happen, you know? And even if you are going to use auto-tune or pitch correction or effects or filters or go digital all the way, make it good. Make the song good. And as long as the song is good, I don't care how you make it, as long as it's good, that's what I care about. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. My generation specifically, you know, probably a little younger, I'm 25, you know, I do think to a certain extent, I guess you can say that our music taste has become less interesting, you know, less exciting, less sophisticated, perhaps. But I don't know, man. I can go out into the street and talk to someone my age or someone younger, and they'll tell me about some artist that I've never heard of, you know? Like, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, like, or math rock or whatever, or just incredibly complicated jazz rock, you know, like all this stuff, dude, all that stuff exists. Is it super mainstream? No, but guess what? When the Beatles were fucking mainstream, dude, there were many people that hated them because they thought it was simple. Listen to I Want to Hold Your Hand and then listen to Bach. Okay? Like, you're going to sit here and tell me that I Want to Hold Your Hand is still more sophisticated and more incredible than Bach? You know, it's just like, I don't know. It depends how you go with this. And also it's like Rick Beato's first example with Frank Sinatra. How far are you going to go with this? You know, because there's an even further back example, you know, where you couldn't even get music into vinyls. You couldn't even record music. So is the music that is unrecordable better than the music that is recordable? You know, like, I mean, how far can you go with this? What about the you know, the Gregorian chants, you know? Is that music more sophisticated than Frank fucking Sinatra? You can go endlessly with this argument. That's why it's pointless. That's why the present is what matters, you know? But anyways, let's keep going.
Music is too easy to consume. So this is the water faucet in my kitchen. But imagine this is streaming on Spotify or Apple Music. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, but what's going on in the stream of water is all of the music that's on these platforms. Now imagine this is one artist's entire output, their entire catalog. Might be The Police, could be Billie Eilish, could be Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. And then this dropper is each of their songs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I just did a whole record there. And eventually you exhaust their whole catalog. When I hit this and I start the stream, the music has very little importance if you think about it this way. It goes from the faucet, down the drain, out to the sewer, where it's recycled again. Except in this case, the music is not recycled like it is through the sewer. There were 100,000 new songs added every day in 2023 to streaming platforms. That's more than one song per second for the entire year. By comparison, when I was a kid, if I wanted to buy this Led Zeppelin 2 record, I had to get a job or borrow money from my parents to buy it because I wanted to own it. I wanted it to be in my collection.
Here we go with the flexing.
This album here, Pat Metheny, New Chautauqua, I paid $8 for, brand new, with the money that I made by bagging groceries at Tops grocery store in Fairport, New York. You actually had to expend energy riding your bike or walking to your job, working your shift, getting your paycheck at the end of the week, depositing it in the bank, getting money out, going to the record store, buying the record, bringing it home, playing it, listening to it a bunch of times, going over to your friend's house, sharing it with them. When a kid opens Spotify and clicks on a song, they can just skip to the next one if they don't like it. Think about this. All of the music that exists, or at least it's been uploaded to Spotify or Apple Music, is available for $10.99 a month. I'm talking about all of Michael Jackson's music, all of AC/DC, Pink Floyd, Whitney Houston, Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, Juice WRLD, Eminem, Dr. Dre, all the works of Beethoven, of Bach, of Mozart, of Stravinsky, of Shostakovich, of Charlie Parker, of John Coltrane,
all right, we
of
get
Miles
it, Rick.
Davis, Brad Meldo, of Pat Metheny,
Oh my God.
Keith Jarrett, all of that. $10.99 a month for the price of what we used to pay for one album. It's all available on these streaming platforms.
Yeah, so we can diminish the value.
Is not as valued by young people. There is no sweat equity put into
Sweat
obtaining
equity. There it
having
is. There's
be
the
part
flex.
of your collection, having it be part of your identity of who you are. These are the bands I believe in. These are the artists that I love. And I'm going to share it with my friends. I'm going to bring that record to school. I'm going to play it for my friends after school. We're all hanging out, reading the back cover of it and seeing who played on it. These things meant something. What was on here meant something. Produced by John Burns and Genesis. It was important. What I'm saying is that music has basically become valueless. If you only have to pay $10.99 a month to have access to anything, what is one song worth? You know, people tell me that they want me to make certain kinds of videos. They have these aspirational ideas, as my friend Todd calls them, but then they ultimately vote with their attention. Rick, make more What Makes a Song Great videos. Make this kind of video. Or I wish that people would write songs in odd meters or use these more complex chord changes. But you know, ultimately, people will do that and then they don't listen to them because you vote with your attention. So try this. Try to sit down just a couple times a week, play just a few songs. Don't look at your phone, or as I call it, the thought deletion device, because it empties your mind out. Don't look at TikTok. Don't look at YouTube or Twitter. Don't look at Instagram. Just listen to the music. Let it flow over you. Think about the lyrics. Think about the melody. And try to experience music like you used to. Or if you're young, try to experience music in the way that we used to.
No, there
Love
it
to
is.
know your thoughts. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Thanks for watching.
All right, Rick. Look, I understand you're really passionate and I love your videos. I'm still not going to stop watching your videos. I still think you're great, right? Rick Beato is great. Make that video. What makes Rick Beato great? Look, I'm not incredible. I'm not 17 years old. I'm not 15, but I'm also not, 60 years old, right? But I can tell you, I just did it right now. This is a book, okay? This is a book. You open it and you read pages and shit. Kind of what Rick Beato does, read books, his time. You read books, okay? I have movies right here. I'm still buying movies. I care about movies. I care about physicality. There's stuff right there. There's even more movies over here that you can't see. And I have I have like two, what's it called? Containers filled with CDs that I would buy. And then I have vinyls. And there's been this resurgence of Gen Z loving physical media. That's a thing. Yes, physical media and physicality to things, you can make the argument that it brings more value, right? But I don't know. I was at a Madison Beer concert, okay? A couple weeks ago, I don't know how long. Great artist, should be more popular, okay? 100%. I was there, I was around a bunch of, 14-year-old girls, something like that, 12, 11, 13. They probably are all on TikTok and probably don't know who the hell Radiohead is, probably don't know who the hell Tool is. They maybe their music taste is a little less sophisticated. But I'm going to tell you right now, they were singing like it was freaking church, man, okay? I couldn't even enjoy the damn concert. Okay, because they were singing so goddamn loud and the audio mixing was terrible. Still love you, Madison, but the audio mixing was terrible. One of the worst concerts I've ever been to in my life, okay? But those girls were incredibly passionate. So I don't think that the young generation doesn't understand the power of music, because they do, okay? They just do it differently, right? I fully believe that. And you know what else? Justin Timberlake, baby. He dropped his newest album. Everything I thought it was. Would it have been great to go to a record store, in 1980s, and like get in line to buy the CD or the vinyl or the cassette, whatever. Yeah, it would have been awesome. And then get in my car or go back to my house and listen to it. But you know what? It came out. It was on streaming, right? I listened to it. I listened to it with my headphones because, like Rick Beato said, take some time. He's like, stop on your phone. Just put on some headphones on. Appreciate the music. Don't do anything else and listen to the music. That's what I did. And the album moved me so much. Okay? And then I shared it with my girlfriend, and she listened to it, and she had her own experience. This can still happen. Okay? Things are evolving. Things are changing, but the experience, and I went to go see him live, and it was amazing. It was a religious experience for me. This stuff has not gone away. It's not gone away, And I have so many moments with Justin Timberlake, with Bruno Mars, with James Bay, with Charlie Puth, with instrumental music, with trap songs, with T-Pain, where I just put on some headphones, I'm in my room, and I disappear, and I listen to the music. And I'm 25 years old. You don't have to be 60 years old to do that. And to feel that, And don't get me wrong, like I said, I love physical media. I do, But there's also efficiency. There's also, ease of use, and streaming is great for that. Streaming has allowed me to discover so many things, that I would have never probably discovered, An artist that I love, John Robert, who I traveled to another state to go see. He's a guy I discovered on Spotify, on Apple Music. He doesn't have any records out, no physical records, but he's one of my favorite artists of all time, and I found him on Apple Music, and I went to go see him at this little warehouse, and I was front row, and he's probably never, I shouldn't say that. Hopefully he becomes as famous as Ed Sheeran, but I don't know, he might not. It's not gone away, Rick. It's just changing. It's different. And it doesn't mean that music just doesn't mean anything to us anymore, because I'm certain it does. It's just different, And you can do both. Vinyl is doing as great as ever. You can do both. But anyways, those are my thoughts on this video here. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Give this video a like if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video and if you enjoy my content and if you want to see more stuff like this. Share this video with your Rick Beato loving friends if you will, see what they think about my terrible opinion. If it's your birthday, happy birthday to you, you beautiful creature. But I think that's it for me. You all take care, stay safe, and until next time, I love you.